Marty, here's my attempt to go over how to get a 30-degree launch when hitting a 56-degree sand iron. I've got 3 cameras going. I've got the one on me, I've got one down below, and I've got my TrackMan screen running here as well. So I mentioned before that in order to launch the ball about, let's say 30 degrees, say 32, 35, definitely helps with a 56 because you're already starting with less loft than say a 60. You have that 56 degrees of static loft as the club sits and as designed. When we set up, most golfers would lean that shaft, let's say, a couple of degrees forward, so we might knock that down to say 53. Some of the other reduction of loft is going to happen through the dynamics of the swing. So if I hit one here and let's say I'm about 4 degrees of shaft lean, as I come in and hit, I'll be able to look at that video when I load it up, but that shaft's going to be leaning more forward than what it did at setup. Let's say I knocked it down maybe another like 6 degrees or so. Now, because I'm on the mat here, it's much easier to launch it low because I can get maximum friction on the ball. But on the monitor there, you can see that it's launched at 27.6. Dynamic loft, which started at 56, has gone all the way down to 44. So you might even ask, well, if the dynamic loft's 44, why did the ball launch so much lower? Well, that's got to do really with 2 other things. The fact that the contact on the face would have been very low. Let me see if I can bring that up here. So we see the contact made down on about the 2.5 groove. So that allows me to get, well, that allows the face, when I hit it low, to turn down slightly, adding spin and also reducing the launch. And the fact that I'm on a mat here that's very tight. If you remember when we grew up playing on the sand belt, we could hit those low spinners because we had that tight couch grass that we couldn't almost take a divot from, and we could thump down into it as hard as we want, and the club would just kind of bounce off. So this would be a similar condition. Where I teach in Southeast Asia, I don't know what the conditions are where you're like, but it can be softer ground. It's much easier for the ball to kind of roll up the face and get the launch a little bit too high. It's not so realistic to have launch angles under 30, I would say, unless you're really playing in, let's bring the numbers back up, unless we're really playing in really tight, firm conditions. Often somewhere between like 32 to 35 is a little bit more realistic. But that's basically the equation. When you're going in with 60 off a tight lie, you could really thump it and even create more spin because there's going to be potential more speed there. But I've found 56 to be a really good club. And again, the equation of a little bit of shaft lean at setup, a lot more shaft lean at impact, which that'll show up. That's going to even launch a little bit lower because I maybe caught that half a groove thin. That was 25, dynamic loft at 40. And let's just go to the impact here. You can see that was lower down again. That was on the 2nd groove. So that's starting to get a little bit thin contact, but certainly getting up in that 2.5 to 3 is about achievable when you're on somewhat good, bud. And hopefully that answers the question. All right. As I come in here. A little bit of shaft lean at setup. A lot more shaft lean at impact, which that'll show up. That's going to even launch a little bit lower because I maybe caught that half a groove.